Could rewriting just one gene be the key to conquering a deadly disease?
That's a big question, isn't it?
It is, but that's what we're diving deep into today. Danon disease.
Ah, yes.
Danon disease.
A rare condition. Primarily affects the heart. And we've got some fascinating research to unpack.
Right from the New England Journal of Medicine.
2 articles, actually. Danon disease. A comprehensive review of pathophysiology, genetics, and gene therapy.
Sounds dense.
It is. And phase 1 study of AAV9.LAMP2B gene therapy in Danon disease.
Ooh, that's the one that really gets into the nitty-gritty.
It does. But don't worry, we're here to break it all down for you. Make it nice and easy to digest.
Absolutely. It's cutting-edge stuff, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about potentially, changing the course of a life-threatening disease.
No small feat.
Not at all. So imagine this. Fewer than 100 families worldwide have been diagnosed with Danon disease.
Wow.
That's it. You're getting a super rare glimpse into a condition most people have never even heard of. That's true. It's a genetic disorder, specifically.
Okay, wait, hold up. X-linked lysosomal storage disorder.
Yeah.
For those of us who didn't, spend all day in a genetics lab, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, fair point. X-linked means the gene for this condition is located on the X chromosome.
Okay.
And since males only have one X chromosome, they're much more likely to be affected.
Makes sense.
Now, the lysosomal storage disorder part, that's all about what's happening inside the cells.
Ah, okay, so this is where things get microscopic. Break it down for me.
Okay. Every cell in your body has these little compartments called lysosomes.
Lysosomes?
Lysosomes. Think of them like the cell's recycling center,
Okay.
breaking down waste products, unwanted materials. But in Danon disease, this recycling process, it gets messed up.
So the cells are basically drowning in their own garbage.
Yeah, pretty much. And the culprit is a missing protein called LAMP2B. It's a crucial component of the lysosome, and without it, things go haywire.
Interesting. So what happens when this cellular recycling system breaks down? Does it affect, the whole body?
It does, but the heart and muscles take the biggest hit.
Ah, I see.
Think about it. The heart is constantly working, so it generates a lot of cellular waste.
Makes sense.
If that waste isn't cleared out efficiently, the heart muscle thickens, making it harder to pump blood effectively. That's where the real danger lies.
So this missing protein, LAMP2B, is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But how do doctors even know if someone has Danon disease in the first place? It's not like they can just peek inside a cell and see if the recycling center is working, right?
Right. It's not that simple. Diagnosing Danon disease can be tricky, but doctors look for a combination of clues. They might notice symptoms like heart problems and muscle weakness, especially in young males. Then they'll use tools like EKGs, muscle biopsies to gather more information. But the gold standard for diagnosis, that's genetic testing.
So that's how they pinpoint the missing LAMP2B gene. It's like finding a typo in the body's instruction manual.
Exactly. And once they've confirmed the diagnosis, they can start exploring treatment options. Now, traditionally, the focus has been on managing symptoms.
Right.
But with recent advancements in gene therapy, there's a new hope on the horizon.
Okay, let's talk about that. Gene therapy, it almost sounds like science fiction. Are we talking about actually replacing the missing gene?
That's the idea. It's a revolutionary approach that involves delivering a healthy copy of the LAMP2B gene directly to the cells.
Wow, so they're basically rewriting the genetic code. That's incredible.
It is, and the research we're looking at today, it focuses on a specific type of gene therapy using a modified virus.
Oh, a virus.
Called AAV9. This virus, it acts like a delivery truck carrying the healthy gene into the cells.
Hold on, a virus. Isn't that a bad thing?
Normally, yes. But in this case, scientists have modified the virus so it can't cause disease. It's basically been reprogrammed to deliver a genetic fix.
That's some seriously impressive scientific maneuvering. So how exactly does this AAV9 virus work? Does it just float around the body until it finds the heart?
It's actually quite targeted. Scientists have designed the virus to specifically recognize and bind to heart cells.
Oh, wow.
Once it attaches to a cell, it releases its payload, the healthy LAMP2B gene, which then gets integrated into the cell's DNA.
So they're basically hijacking the virus's natural ability to infect cells and turning it into a force for good. That's brilliant. But does it actually work? I mean, can a single injection really fix a genetic defect?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's where the phase 1 clinical trial comes in. This study was designed to test the safety and efficacy of the AAV9 LAMP2B gene therapy in a small group of patients with Danon disease.
What were the results? Don't leave me hanging.
The results were, well, let's just say they were pretty remarkable. But before we dive into the specifics, let's take a step back and consider what's at stake here. We're talking about a disease with no cure, a disease that often leads to heart failure and premature death. So the potential impact of a successful gene therapy is, well, it's enormous.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. You're telling me there's a chance to actually fix this devastating condition. That's huge.
It is huge, but
Yeah.
but remember, this was a phase 1 trial, so it was primarily about safety,
Right.
but they also looked at some key indicators just to see if the treatment was actually doing anything.
So what were they measuring? What kind of clues would suggest that this gene therapy was on the right track?
Well, they looked at several things, but one of the most important was LMP2 protein expression. Remember, that's the missing protein that's causing all the trouble.
Yeah.
If the gene therapy is working, we should see LMP2 start to show up in the heart cells.
Right, that makes sense. They're basically checking to see if the delivered gene is actually doing its job. Exactly. Producing the protein.
Yeah.
So did they find it? Was LMP2 showing up where it was supposed to?
They did, yeah. And that's one of the most exciting findings of the study. In most of the patients, they detected significant levels of LMP2 protein in the heart muscle after the gene therapy. It was a clear sign that the treatment was having a biological effect.
Wow, so the delivery truck actually made it to its destination and dropped off the package.
Yep.
But does that translate into, like, real-world benefits for the patients? Did they actually see improvements in their heart function?
That's the crucial question, and the answer is, again, a resounding yes. They saw improvements in several key measures of heart function.
Like what? Give me the details.
Okay, so let's start with left ventricular mass index, or LVMI.
LDMI.
LVMI. It's basically a measure of how thick the heart muscle is.
Okay.
In patients with Danon disease, the LVMI is often elevated because the heart is working harder to compensate for the inefficient waste removal.
Got it. So a lower LVMI is a good thing. It means the heart muscle isn't as strained.
Right.
What did they find?
Well, in the study, most of the patients who received the gene therapy showed significant reductions in their LVMI. In some cases, the heart muscle actually decreased in thickness, suggesting that the gene therapy was helping to reverse the damage caused by the disease.
Whoa, that's incredible. So it's not just halting the progression of the disease, it might actually be reversing it.
That's what the data suggests, and it's incredibly exciting. But remember, this is a small study. We need more research to confirm these findings.
Of course, but it's still incredibly promising. What other improvements do they see?
Well, they also looked at levels of certain biomarkers that indicate heart damage. One of these is troponin I, which is released into the bloodstream when the heart muscle is injured.
So high troponin levels are a bad sign.
Exactly, yeah. And in the study, they found that troponin I levels dropped dramatically in most patients after the gene therapy. Some patients saw decreases of over 80%, which is remarkable.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Reduced heart muscle thickness, lower levels of heart damage markers. It really seems like this gene therapy is making a real difference. Did they look at anything else?
Yes, they also measured levels of natriuretic peptides, which are hormones released when the heart is under stress.
Right.
And guess what? Those levels also decreased significantly in most patients after the gene therapy.
So not only is the heart muscle getting healthier, but it's also working more efficiently and with less strain. It's
Yeah.
like they gave these hearts a second chance.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about the numbers. The study also captured the real life impact of this treatment. Many of the patients who participated were able to return to normal activities like going to school or work, things that would have been unthinkable without the gene therapy.
Wow, that's truly amazing. So it's not just about extending life, it's about improving the quality of life too. This is a game changer.
It is, but we need to be cautious. Remember, this was a small, early-stage study. We need larger trials with longer follow-up to confirm these results and to assess the long-term safety and effectiveness of the treatment.
Right, it's still early days, but the potential here is mind-blowing. Imagine if this could become the standard of care for Danon disease. It would be a revolution in medicine.
It would indeed, and the implications go beyond Danon disease. The success of this study could pave the way for gene therapies for other rare genetic disorders.
I could see it now. Headlines proclaiming, "Scientists cure rare disease with gene therapy." It would be a beacon of hope for so many families facing similar challenges.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder of the incredible advances happening in medicine and the potential for science to transform lives.
It's amazing to think that something as tiny as a virus could hold the key to treating these complex genetic disorders.
Mm.
But like you said, it's still early days. What what are some of the challenges that researchers are facing as they continue to develop and refine gene therapy?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is delivery.
Hmm.
Getting the gene to the right cells in the right amount, that's crucial for the therapy to be effective. And it's not always as simple as just injecting a virus into the bloodstream.
Right, because we're talking about incredibly tiny structures here. It's like trying to thread a needle in the dark.
Exactly. And different tissues and organs present, unique challenges. For example, the heart is relatively easy to target because it's a well-defined organ, good blood flow.
Right.
But what about diseases that affect the brain or the lungs? Getting the gene therapy to those areas safely and efficiently, that's a much tougher nut to crack.
So there's still a lot of technical puzzles to solve.
Mm.
What about the long-term effects of gene therapy? Do we know if these treatments are safe and effective over the long haul?
That's another crucial question. We have some encouraging data from early stage trials, but we need longer follow-up to fully assess the durability of the treatment and to monitor for any potential side effects that might emerge down the line.
Right, because even though these viruses are modified, they're still introducing foreign genetic material into the body. There's always a chance that something unexpected could happen.
Exactly. And that's why ongoing research and rigorous clinical trials are essential. We need to be absolutely sure that these treatments are both safe and effective before we can even think about making them widely available.
And speaking of availability, there's also the issue of cost.
Right.
Gene therapies are incredibly expensive to develop and manufacture. How how do we ensure that these potentially life-saving treatments are accessible to everyone who needs them, not just a select few?
That's a critical issue and it's one that we as a society need to address. We need to find ways to make these treatments more affordable and accessible so that everyone can benefit from these advances in medical science.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's a conversation we need to have because what's the point of developing these amazing therapies if they're only available to the wealthy?
Exactly. Science should serve humanity, not just a privileged few.
Well said. So what's next for gene therapy? Where do we go from here?
Well, the future is incredibly bright for gene therapy. We're already seeing remarkable results in clinical trials for a wide range of diseases, from rare genetic disorders to more common conditions like cancer, heart disease.
It's mind-boggling to think about the possibilities. We might be on the cusp of a new era in medicine where we can actually cure diseases that were once considered incurable.
It's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure. And who knows, maybe one day we'll even be able to use gene therapy to enhance human capabilities, not just treat diseases. But that's a whole other conversation for another time.
Okay, now you're really getting into science fiction territory, but I have to admit it's a fascinating thought. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Danon disease and the promise of gene therapy, what's the main takeaway message for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we're living in a time of unprecedented scientific advancement. Things that were once considered impossible are now becoming a reality. And gene therapy is at the forefront of this revolution, offering hope and potentially cures for diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries.
It's a powerful message of hope and a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the scientists and researchers who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. So to our listeners, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged because the future of medicine is unfolding right before our eyes. And who knows, you might just be a part of it.